We acknowledge with gratitude that we are gathered on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Coquitlam First Nation, who have lived here for thousands of years and continue to care for these lands and waters. We also recognize the shared territory of the Coast Salish peoples, including the Tsleil-Waututh, Cathy, and Musqueam nations. We honor their enduring presence and ongoing contributions to this region.
Welcome to Faces Tri-Cities interview series. I'm Geneviève Kyle-Lefebvre.
And I'm Cathy Cena. Faces Tri-Cities is a co-authored book featuring 50 amazing local women.
Absolutely. And today we are sitting with Margaret Franz. Welcome, Margaret.
Thank you.
And I have to say, yes, we have a studio audience. We have other co-authors. Thank you, ladies, for coming. Great. So happy. So nice to have all those beautiful ladies with us.
Absolutely.
First question for you today. Okay, what inspired you to get involved in this local initiative?
I was asked to sign up, and I thought it was a fabulous opportunity. Women, generally speaking, do many fabulous things and aren't necessarily always recognized for their contributions. I guess in my pre-retirement life, I was an educator, and I taught at Coquitlam Polytechnic University. And I had one of the first classes I taught was in academic preparation. So it was a course, a writing course for students who were attempting to get into a particular discipline, but needed help to streamline their writing skills, their essays and their research papers. And one afternoon I was standing at the head of my class, and I was thinking about a particular topic, which was women authors. And I said, tell me, how many of you can name one Canadian women author? And there was a long silence, and nobody could name one Canadian woman author.
Wow, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And I was really shocked, and I thought, that's really unfortunate. So why is it that more women aren't writing? What is it about writing that's so difficult? Or that is a kind of enterprise that you don't even want to attempt because it looks so, something about it looks so formidable. So I had a story that I had to tell.
Mm-hmm.
And it involved my late sister. And it's a very tragic story, but I knew I had to write it, and I started to write it in 1976. I wrote the first few chapters, and then I set it aside, and basically I got married, I got pregnant, had 2 children in quick succession, and I had a job as well. I was teaching, so I really had no time at all to finish it. But when I retired in 2015, I thought, I must finish this book. And I sat down. It was just as COVID was beginning, and there was absolutely nothing on my calendar for the summer of 2020. And I had that whole summer to do nothing but write. And of course, it also bled into the fall and the winter as well. And and I finished. I finished the book. I got myself a publisher, and I published. And I was just absolutely thrilled that I was so proud that I'd actually done it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And
So sorry. So was this a way? Was the Faces book a way for you to sort of transfer some of what your writings were into this book, so the larger population could also read the story, a snippet of the story, right?
Absolutely. Oh yes. Oh yes. So I've actually done really well, and it's, if I could tell us a bit about the story, would that be okay?
Yeah,
It's totally good. We are going to go into, like, sharing an impact and all of those kinds of things and questions. And your story is amazing. I interviewed you for the first half of a story, not the second half, because I was, enthralled. And we've even heard from people at chapters that they know you by your first name, Margaret. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
With all of your book signings that you do. So it is a phenomenal story. I want to make sure that we give it the space and the grace that it deserves.
Absolutely. So so we'll get to that question definitely. Now I want to ask you, so what impact does sharing your story have on the Tri-Cities community? Which is maybe a little bit what you wanted to talk about too, right? The impact.
Yes, the impact. Well, I basically had it was about, I think 13 years, no, not 13, about 8 years ago, I had a what I called a panel presentation right here in the Coquitlam Library. And I invited 4 speakers to speak about mental health and also just various aspects of Mary's story. And it was a wonderful event. It was well attended. Everybody loved it, and they also, they were pleased to be part of that conversation, because I know the issue of mental health has been raised here, and it truly is one of the most important issues today. I mean, when you watch television every night, there are at least 4 or 5 cases or pending cases or ongoing cases where mental health is the issue. And my sister, bless her heart, was a registered psychiatric nurse. That was her first job. And she worked at that for 4 years. And then she became, she went to university. She got her bachelor's degree at SFU. And then she started to work then she got her master's degree. And then she got a job opportunity at the BC Penitentiary in New Westminster. And she was there for 20 months. And she had a caseload of 60 male inmates on her caseload. She was her official title was classification officer, and she was one of 15 classification officers who worked within the prison. So they were like parole officers, but working within the institution.
Where was that jail?
Where was it? In New Westminster.
Okay, quite local, yeah.
Yeah, it's right on the cover here.
Yeah, you can show the book. Yeah.
This is the
laden bullets.
The
between, yeah.
gatehouse, the former gatehouse of the old BC Penitentiary, and it still exists. But at the time that my sister was working here, the prison, this gatehouse was a part of a much larger prison compound, and it housed 600 male inmates who all had sentences of 20 years plus a day, 2 years plus a day.
Amazing. Yeah. So, writing the story like this, sharing it with local people like this, do you think it's making a difference for our youth, for the people in the future that actually do not want to have stories like this? Because you didn't say exactly what happened with your sister, because I think we need to elaborate a little bit more on this so people understand, because your sister ended up passing away.
Yes, she did.
In the location.
Yes. Yes, there was a prison uprising prisoner uprising in which it wasn't an uprising, it was 3 inmates who wanted to escape. And they took all of the classification officers. Mary was one, there were 15 of them, 3 women and 12 men.
Mm-hmm.
They were all taken hostage and held for 41 hours in a vault, it was a vault actually. So there were no windows, there were no doors, there was no air circulation, and they were held in that room. It was a June day when they were taken hostage, and they were there for 41 hours, and it was a terrible situation.
Mm-hmm. So for someone to hear this story, what do you think today the impact is?
I think the impact is, well, I tried to write it in a way that represented how I wanted to share my sister's story because of her incredible bravery. Mm-hmm. She was very courageous. She offered herself as a principal hostage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
she offered herself. And because she felt that she knew the inmates who took at least 2 of them quite well, and she felt that she could be successful in acting as a liaison between the inmates and all of the people that were showing up, the administration and there were many people coming to that area and wanted to talk to the inmates who were trying to get them to basically let everybody go, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, she was, but that was her sacrifice was so monumental that I felt the world really needed to hear her story.
And being inspired. It's so inspiring.
And to be inspired by it, yes. Mm-hmm. Because I have never known anyone as brave as my sister. Mm-hmm. And this was the second time I saw her in that action. And the first time was when she was 15 years old. And I talk about this in my book as well. Mm-hmm. Basically she was 15, I was 12. My friend and I had gone swimming in the Arrow Lakes. Mm-hmm. And we basically my friend and I were walking through this fairly deep water, trying to get to a swimming place we really wanted to get to. And as we were walking, my friend suddenly basically dropped down into the water, and I lost sight of her. She had gone. And I thought, what's happened? And then I fell into, it was like a deep crevice.
Like a drop.
A drop off.
Right down.
A drop off.
Mm-hmm.
And there I was thrashing around. And my friend's name was Amy. Basically, we were thrashing around, and Amy basically grabbed onto my shoulders, and we were both going to die, period. But I literally fought her off, and I thought, if she's going to pull me down, I will die, she will die. At least maybe I can get out and then try to figure out, how to do something about her. Anyway, I swam to the shore. I threw myself down, and I was just about sobbing. And I looked back, and Amy's head was just bobbing up and down. But every time it would come up, and then it went disappear. And finally, I couldn't see her anymore. And I started screaming at the top of my lungs. I didn't think anybody could hear us. This is the country.
Yeah.
And it was there was nobody around. The nearest house was literally a half a mile away, and they couldn't hear us, hear me, right? And literally, I thought she's probably gone, but I'm going to scream at the top of my voice, which I did. Suddenly, my sister showed up. She had decided to come swim. And she didn't hesitate for 1 minute. She tore off her clothes, her outer clothes, and because she had her bathing suit on underneath, right? So she stripped down and she dove into the water. She went, I said, Amy's over there. I was pointing to the last time I had seen Amy, right? She literally swam. She could do we all taught ourselves to swim. There was no such thing as swimming lessons.
No,
Burton had a population of about 125 people.
Oh, wow.
It was a very small town. So we didn't have those things that every child has today. You learn to skate, etc. We didn't even have a teacher to teach us how to swim. But we watched, we looked at what other people did. So she knew how to swim. And so she went over, she dove down into the water where we thought Amy was. She dove down in the water for at least 3 times and came up. She couldn't find her. And then finally, the last time she dove down, and she pulled her up. She literally pulled her up, and swam to the shore very, very slowly because Amy was quite a large girl.
And water and weighted and all of
that.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Was she unconscious at that moment?
She was unconscious. Yes. So she brought her to the shore, and Amy, she dropped her down on the shore. It was kind of brown, mucky. Like, it wasn't a nice sandy shore. It was just muck, And we turned her over, and she started to throw up.
Yeah.
And then she threw up, and
water came out too, right?
It came out, and then she actually said, Margaret, she said, pray for me. Yeah, she said, pray for me. And I did. I prayed a lot. And Mary, in the meantime, when she knew that she was alive, then she went off. She ran to the, the closest home, which was at least a half a mile, right?
Wow.
Right.
And the couple of men came, and the owners, they came
and then they helped you
and took Amy home,
and then she was saved.
And she was saved.
It's amazing.
She was saved.
I mean, I want to know
And all
about
of this.
quote.
I'm going to get into that.
Yes.
All of this was about the bravery. I remember you talking about your sister and how, incredibly brave she was, and you just kept going on. And although you were not inside the BC pen, you can just have imagined what she did. I didn't know about the 15-year-old story. That she had saved Amy and all of that. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. But I'm going to get in the pen is mightier than the sword.
I've always loved that saying because you can accomplish so much by writing. You really can. You can, there's a theory in reading theory. There is a theory about what happens when you read. Well, what happens is as you are reading, you're basically, what you're doing is you're opening your consciousness to the words and the thoughts of somebody else, someone else's consciousness. You are allowing space and room inside your head. Now think about that. As you read, you are giving over part of your consciousness to the listener or the reader.
Well, thank you for this. I think it's amazing. Ladies, anybody has a question for Margaret? Yes, please, Cathy. And if you want me to take it over there too.
If you don't mind.
Okay, such a beautiful pictures. I like to say this, but it's so true.
Any questions, ladies?
For Margaret.
She's a very accomplished author herself.
It's great. just want to say thank you for sharing your story.
Oh,
If
thank you, Kiana.
If we don't, tell them say what we've seen and heard, no one's going to know why we are in awe of certain people and why certain situations affect us so differently.
Yes, yeah.
Beautiful.
And how did it affect you? What happened with your sister? Did it
Oh,
change you?
It was actually one of the most devastating times of my life. Right? Yeah. And of course my parents. And that was the saddest thing because we were the only two siblings. We only had each other. And of course my mother and father were basically just broken. And I had many more years to live, to recover and develop have my own life.
Yeah.
But my mother, I remember her saying, we were too old to be able to recover from that loss.
But do you really recover after losing a child?
I
I lost
think
my
you do.
brother and my
Yeah, we both
mom.
did.
Yeah, that's right. We
All
both lost our brother.
three of us have lost siblings.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
You- oh,
and
yeah,
Vivian
too.
also.
Yeah,
And
I didn't know that. Yeah.
I don't know. Even as even as a sister now, it's me.
Mhm.
If something's wrong with my parents, something's happening, it's me.
Are you the only one?
Yeah.
She's the only one left. I have two. I have a sibling.
So life is
Tough.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
it is. It's sad.
Well, Margaret,
Sad.
thank you so much for coming today. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for writing your story. Thank you for being part of the book.
Well,
It was a pleasure to have you with us
Yeah,
today.
she wrote us a lovely letter when she sent her payment in for the book, and I read it
Yes.
to Geneviève, and I just thought, oh wow, that's so lovely. You didn't have to take pen to paper and write us anything, but you did, and that just made you take that extra next little step for us. So thank you so much. I'm gonna just grab your book here in my closing, Margaret, and
I think you're doing a fabulous job, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, I do. I think this is a very wonderful thing that you are doing.
Thank you.
great.
Thank you.
We can't wait for our next edition.
Yes.
It's Cathy Chenna here and Geneviève. We are Faces of the Tri-Cities with Tri-Cities Community TV. Thank you so much for watching. It's Margaret Franz right now, and this is her book. Please pick it up at any local chapters. She does a lot of different book signings. It's a very inspirational, sad, but she wanted to write and put pen to paper so that others could be transformed, affected, and inspired. Thanks so much for listening, and until next time, bye for now.
Bye.